On March 16, 2001, Annika Sorenstam became the first woman in LPGA history to shoot 59. She hit every green, missed one fairway by 6 inches, and needed only 25 putts in her march to history at the Standard Register Ping. After making 13 birdies, she closed her round at Moon Valley Country Club on the par 4 ninth with a 3.5-foot putt for par, and then jumped into her caddy's arms. No one in the women's game has been able to match the feat. Golfweek recently caught up with Annika to talk about the day that changed everything. Well, thanks, Annika, for joining us to take a trip down memory lane from one of the most historic days in golf. Hard to believe it's been 20 years. I'm sure you feel the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
How much do you vividly remember about that round?
You know, I only remember a few things, and I think those are the things that I keep, when people bring it up, I think that's what I talk about, kind of my warm up and, getting off to a good start. And then, some of the holes out there on the golf course I remember, and of course the finish, but that's about it. There's some holes in between I don't really remember. I was just kind of in the zone that day.
Take me through the last 2 putts and the nerves that you felt when you realized, what was really happening here.
Yeah, I mean, I did hit a good shot in there. I was aggressive, like you said, and I read it like I had all day, and it was a good, aggressive stroke, I would say. It went by on the left side about 3 feet past, so he had a good chance of going in for 58. And I stood there on the green, and I just felt like this 3-footer just got longer and longer and longer. I just really wanted to tap it in and be done with it. And so I was playing a little bit of a mental game in my head and just focusing on the putt and telling myself I've made so many of these, and this just is another putt, and the ball doesn't know what it's going in for, and all those things that you can come up with to stay focused. And then it was my turn, and just made a good stroke, and it went in. And so there was a lot of thoughts going through my head, positive, negative, just ahead, but then also go backwards and think what's happened. So it was it's just an interesting moment for sure.
How much did that day, that round of golf, shape your career, you think? I mean, obviously it shaped your identity in that we all call you Ms. 59, but but how much did it really, catapult you? Obviously I see the robe right behind you. That came pretty quick after that.
No, it did. This was in 2001, so it was towards the beginning of my career. I mean, I've been on tour for I started, I guess maybe halfway into my career. But I've always, growing up in Sweden and thinking about shooting 54, birding every hole, having that vision of, just playing a golf course, just, the absolute perfect way. And I've said to people all along that when you set goals and when you work towards something, I think it's really important to do it in your mind first, because it's like, okay, I believe it's possible. And I think that, coming down the stretcher, just in my mind, I had kind of done it, if you know what I mean.
Tell me when the idea of shooting 54 first came to you.
Yeah, I was in the Swedish national team, probably around 16 years old. I had, we were working with Pia Nilsson. She was she played on the LPGA. She really talked more about that aspect, the attitude and how you approach things. And, we start talking through, this was really in the beginning stages with her. We talked about, what it would be like to, birdie every hole. And, first we were like, well, that sounds a little difficult. But then we start talking about, how would this really happen? And, the thought that we talked about was, if you play a golf course, you most likely, at the time I would birdie 4 to 5 holes around. So if I played, 10 rounds, most likely I will birdie every hole at some point. So in other words, every hole is, it's birdable. So they were like, well, why can't you do it in 1 round? We all giggle and thought, but just continue to, have that vision. I think it's really important. Whatever you do is, just set the bar really high. And of course, I mean, I haven't shot 54, but I think if you set the bar really high, if you get somewhere close, it's going to be better than where you started.
What was the best shot of that round, you think?
The best shot. That's a very good question. I only had 59, so
not many to choose from.
Yeah, I mean, I I did hit, I want to say I hit every green. So, which means I had 18 opportunities. But the one thing that stood out the most was that I never really thought about my second putt for some reason. I looked at the hole, I read the putt, I took my practice stroke, I kind of got the feel for it. And I just never really told myself, oh, don't hit it too hard, or, don't, this is downhill, or this is uphill, you got to, hit it hard. It was just more like just constantly thinking about making that first putt. And honestly, I really haven't had that thought many times before. And I've always wondered why I didn't, because of course it worked that day, but that's how comfortable I felt. And so, I want to just say keeping the momentum going, even when, my birdie putts on 7 and 8, they were not tap-ins. I mean, some of them were, over 20, 30 feet.
Are you surprised that there hasn't been another 59 in 20 years?
I mean, if you would have asked me that, the following week, we'll find out how long it will take. But if you would say 20 years from now, there will be no other 59, then I would say absolutely. Yeah, I would be, because I think it's, considering on the men's tour, the Al Geiberger shot 59. And then after that, there's been a few of them. I wouldn't say every year, but it's been, consistently. So, yeah, I would say it is. The reason why I say that is because it is a mental barrier. And I feel like if somebody breaks it, it's like, well, now we know it's possible.